What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Friday Night Bites. We've been off for a couple of weeks, so this week we're going to catch up. We had the home derby. We made a trip to New York, caught some giant smallmouth. I got my good friend Matt Gibson on, one of the hosts of the Noob Show here at the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. So buckle up, boys and girls, and get ready. It's going to be a wild ride.
Welcome to Friday Night Bites, an after-hours paddle and fin production. No holds barred, what's hot and what's not. Latest updates and trends in the industry. Tricks, tips, and more. Weekly updates by none other than the OG himself. Now let's join the one and only podfather, Brian Schiller.
All right, guys, let's just jump right into it. We got Matt Gibson in the house. Welcome, brother.
Hey, what's going on, man?
You know, I feel like I haven't seen you in a few days.
It's been a while. It's been what?
48 hours or something.
Ish.
I don't know.
Ish.
Yeah, ish. Oh man. Yeah. No, it was a great trip. I'm looking forward to recapping that. We did some things new, a little different. You know, we fished out of a boat together, so that's a little bit different. Normally, if we're fishing together, it's in kayaks. So I'm interested to get your take on that. And then, but yeah, I wanted to start off real quick with just recapping the home derby. Last podcast I was on here, I was getting ready for that. Unfortunately, I didn't get to fish it with my dad, so I got to fish it with my wife, and that was kind of interesting. She's become quite the angler herself lately over these past 2 years. I mean, she had me as a teacher, right? So
She must be reading the blogs on Dubra.
yeah. That's too funny. But no, man, it was a struggle bus. I know the guys that took the W home. They were out scoping deep water, finding schools of fish, and just sitting over them. Not 100% sure what they were tossing, but obviously, like going back to our, live scope podcast that we did, like I don't have one. I did utilize, my side scan and stuff like that. And we found fish. We just couldn't catch any big ones, we upgraded throughout the day. I think our big fish was 3.8 or something like that, which I caught on an underspin. The new Tackle Warehouse guppy head, or not Tackle Warehouse, I'm sorry. The new Dirty Jigs. What are those guys on YouTube?
Tactical Bassin.
Tactical Bassin. That's what I meant to say. Their new underspin on that guppy head, it's kind of like a finesse underspin. I'm really loving those.
Dirty Jigs make some really good product, man. Like they're use
dude,
quality stuff.
Yeah, I originally bought those guppy heads for fishing down on Dale Hollow, throwing like smaller swim baits, and I fell in love with them down there just because I had success with them. Right. And I was going to stock up on underspins, and I've never really had like a favorite underspin, so to speak. And I saw those, and those are fast becoming my favorite because, I mean, I was just slow churning that thing with I think it's like a 5.3 to 1 reel, and almost fishing it like a crankbait, and just slow churning that thing down towards the bottom, and they were just choking on it. So it was cool. I mean, we ended up in fourth place, and we had a great day on the water, and it was fun, man. It was fun. So, you ever fish with your wife? No. Hence the reason you're still married.
That's right. I had to think about it there for a minute. I was like, she's been out a while. I've been fishing in my kayak, but
sure.
Well, yeah, a long time ago. Gosh, right when we got together. Of course, I picked the absolute shittiest day in Indiana history.
Snow, sleet, rain.
It was sleeting actually.
Nice.
And it was blowing 15 to 20 miles an hour, and it was frigid out there. And I think that sealed the deal of me fishing.
I have a feeling that was planned.
I would love to say that, but I am not smart enough to figure that out.
Yeah.
I'm just an idiot that wanted to go fishing. So,
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it. No, good stuff, man. Well, I know tonight we just wanted to kind of unpack our trip up to the famous St. Lawrence River up in upstate New York. Kind of like one of those fishing destinations. I briefly mentioned it on the last podcast I did that we were going up there, but I mean, I picked you up Thursday evening. We drove to Erie, PA, crashed for the night, drove the rest of the way. Season didn't open up there till Saturday. So Friday we kind of got on the water and poked around a little bit to see what the lay of the land was, so to speak.
had the best submarine sandwich ever.
Dude, that thing was unbelievable. It was like $8 and there had to been like 2 pounds of meat on there. I'm
Yeah,
a big dude and so are you, and I think we each only finished half of that thing.
yeah, no more, man. It was crazy how good that
Yeah.
sandwich was.
Yeah. Do you remember the name of that place? It's a little market in downtown Cape Vincent, New
I think it
York.
was called the Village Shop. I think is
Okay.
what it was called, or is right next to the Village Shop. Yeah, the grocery store there. If you're ever in that area,
Yeah.
like go check that place out for sure. Because
Yeah.
like you said, it's fairly cheap, and then like there was so much meat on it, like it was
Dude.
unbelievable.
Yeah. They make them back there at the grocery counter or the deli counter. And dude, phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah,
they're cutting the meat fresh there for you, putting it together.
yeah.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, what was your first thoughts of like just everything we scoped out Friday? Because we didn't fish, obviously. We
Right.
pulled out of all the rods out of the boat just so there was no question that we were out there fishing illegally.
Oh, because I
And
would have jacked one. Like, there's no way I could have been out there and not done it.
well, they were the smallmouth were on beds, so let's preference that.
Yeah.
So, we were out kind of scoping around for beds, dropping waypoints on some of the stuff we found. And it was relatively windy that day, so it was like visibility wasn't great. We did use a flogger, so that's something new.
Which neither of us had ever used. Like, we were
Yeah.
trying to figure that out, and like in the first 20 minutes, we're like, oh, there's one.
Yeah. 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 Made a difference because it gave us a general area or a general idea of like areas to fish, I feel.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we did drop some waypoints on like fish we saw,
Yeah.
but we also scoped out some water where we didn't see anything. So it kind of eliminated that for us, which was kind of nice with it being so windy and choppy.
Yeah. I mean, my initial gut reaction to it was like, man, this is like, it's no secret here in Indiana, fishing's tough, right? And
Sure.
like this looks like if this looks the St. Lawrence River looks like a place that bass go when they die and go to heaven. Like
Yeah.
it's insane, dude. Like it is crazy. And so like I was like, there has to be just fish like in buckets.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And after our little excursion out there, I was like, oh, this might be a little bit tougher. This might be an Indiana grinder type of
Yeah.
tournament or type of fishing trip. And turns out it kind of was at the end, but yeah, like I was like, I was pretty pumped on it. I was like, man, it's gonna be a lot of fun. There's definitely a lot of diversity even in the
Yeah.
small area we looked at. So that was
Right.
kind of my initial thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, we were staying right outside of Cape Vincent. If you guys aren't familiar with the geography, it's kind of right there where the St. Lawrence dumps into Lake Ontario. And so you had that diversity where you could run to the lake, which we did one day, and we can get to that. But um, we were mainly in the river itself, and that river is pretty much almost divided down the center. It's kind of weird the way the U.S. Canada border kind of jogs through the islands because it's called Land of the Thousand Islands or something like that, or Thousand Islands or
Yep.
something. And the one thing that struck me like first thing motoring out was like how clear the water was. Cause I think there was some areas where we could see bottom in 13, 14 foot of water, you
Without a
know?
flogger. Yeah.
Yeah, without a flogger, when it was flat calm.
Yeah. Right.
And even in the chop, a little bit of chop, I mean, you could see bottom in 9, 10 foot of water,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, 8 was like, I mean, I know I made a comment at some point, I forget where we were, and it was like, it said we were in 8 foot of water, but it looked like 2 foot of water.
Yeah.
Like, it was so clear and mirror-like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It was beautiful water. And gosh, kudos to New York and what they're doing up there, because they they let their thing, they let their bodies of water go natural. So there were weeds in it.
Yeah.
There were sand spots. There was rock. There was
Gravel.
wood. There's
Yeah.
gravel. I
Yep.
mean, it had literally everything you could ever want in a fishery with
Yeah.
super clean, clear water. So it's just a great spot, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, with me being a little further north and having some experience fishing, Wisconsin, Minnesota, things like that, like I'm used to fishing some of that clear water.
Yeah.
But I mean, that stuff was just so gin clear, man. I mean, I fished some stuff like Lake Geneva near me, just over the Wisconsin border. Um, is a glacial lake, and that you could usually see bottom in 10 to 12 usually. Um, and it kind of reminded me of that, but it was a little bit different because there was a little bit of current. I know we didn't like really realize it that much, but there is some current ripping through there, especially when you get by the main shipping channels and, further north you go,
Yeah.
or I should say further upriver you go
Hey,
towards the ocean, I guess you would say, right?
yeah.
But
Yeah. It kind of necks down, and things get a little hairier up there. That's for sure. So.
yeah, 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 yeah. Shallow shoals pop out of nowhere.
That's right. Those rock
Thank
monsters.
God. Thank God I noticed that right away.
Yeah.
That could have gone horribly wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we got to get the lay of the land Friday, and then Saturday morning it was kind of like a friendly derby all week. It's still going on right now. When this releases, we're recording Thursday night, so when this releases Friday night, those guys are wrapping up and starting to make their way back. But we were only there for part of it, so um, we were there with you know Brian Byczowski, owner of Dubro, and some of his relatives and friends of the family and stuff like that. I think there was 8 boats total, something like that.
Yeah. I think it was
Uh,
8.
but
What a
they
great
weigh.
group, man. Like,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
what
yeah.
a fun group. Like, it's one of
Definitely
those
fun.
things. Like when you go on a fishing trip, or you meet somebody for the first time, like you just kind of never know how it's going to go. And like, I felt welcome the whole time.
Yeah,
And those dudes are fish heads that like talk about fishing, and like that's one of the great parts of about going on trips like that. It's just knowledge sharing and
yeah.
talk about what, and they have 1.5 million stories about what happened 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So like
Right, right.
it's just it was a great opportunity, and man, it was a lot of fun.
No, I completely agree with that. I mean, we got to tell fish stories and things like that, and that's always enjoyable. The people in camp, kind of make that trip setting that much better, right?
Mhm.
Like you could have phenomenal fishing, but a bunch of duds in camp, and that kind of makes the trip subpar, right?
Yeah,
But when you have all those things come together, it makes it phenomenal. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, man, that whole group. But um yeah, day one we go out Saturday. What did we weigh in, like 21 pounds or something
it
like that?
was a 21.5, 21.6.
Something like that, yeah.
Because I was like, man, we might get 22. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we did pretty solid. I mean, we had a couple 4+ pound fish, bunch of high threes, and we weighed in 5 fish, and man, it was fun, you know,
Yeah.
like
Dude,
I know
Friday, I would have never guessed that the day was gonna turn out that way. Dude,
I kinda had a feeling it was because we were picking up a little bit on, like, you know, the type of structure they were
yeah,
relating to, mostly rock. There was a few beds that we found that were close to, like, sunken trees and things like that, or kinda out in the open, like oddball, but most of them were relating to big boulders, which there's a ton of those in that lake, and
dude,
we'll talk about some of the ones we found later in the week, but
yeah, I mean, that place turned into, like, Jurassic Park, dude. Like, there was just, like like T-Rexes everywhere.
yeah, 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 yeah.
When you hook a 3-pounder and you're like,
Dude,
"Oh, it's a little one." You're like, "That's nuts. That's crazy."
yeah, yeah.
I don't care if it's
Well, the
smallmouth, what it is. Like,
the incredible thing was, and it was talked about throughout the few days we were there, was like all the smallies you would hook into would just come shooting out of the water, just tail dancing. And I mean, we had some big ones that came tail dancing out of the water, which I thought was really cool. Fortunately enough, we landed a majority of those. I know there was a couple that we lost, right? You lost, but
man, damn
you know.
jerkbait. Look
But
what I got right here, literally right at my desk.
oh, trebles, yeah,
Trebles. I'm
gonna
replacing them.
swap those out.
I'm done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it was kind of unique, man. So I think the first what 3 or 4 fish we landed, I was like, hey, there's one right here. I'd hit spot lock, I'd grab the flogger, and I'd coach you to like where they were, how they were reacting. And it was interesting. And it's something like I wanted to talk about because some of those guys were just like tossing 1 or 2 things at them. Whereas like, you know, you and I had the consciousness to be like, okay, they're not going after this. Let's try this. And then if they wouldn't hit that, we'd try something else until we could get them fired up and eventually, you know, go after it.
Yeah.
And
And I would say even like kind of looking back on it, we were pretty conscious of baits, but also colors.
yeah, I was going to say that. So we were fishing some prototype colors that we've been messing around here
Yeah.
with at Dubro. Um, Probably look at like the first of the year, you guys will see them. But you know, it was interesting because there was that one color that like it seemed like on a few fish, like you threw it in there in a tube and like they just wanted to hammer it. Like
Well,
they were
I was
not
me
having it.
throwing a tube? No.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
And
I
it was
know.
you know what? I want to talk about that real quick because that was quite interesting because that was the first time I really actually got to like dissect the way you were fishing a tube. And it
Yeah.
was quite interesting to me, especially with the fact that like I could see the motions you were putting on the bait, but being able to see what that bait was doing in that crystal clear water, it gave me a new perspective on how to approach a tube for sure.
Yeah.
And
A tube doesn't do this ever.
yeah, right, right,
It
right,
does
right.
this. It
Yeah,
sails. Like,
yeah,
it never goes straight down, and no matter what way you rig it, and that's the beauty of it, man. And
yeah,
I think that's the color. So I guess I take it back. We would see a fish, it wouldn't have any interest in X color, whatever color it is,
sure.
on a drop shot. We caught a ton on a drop shot, but they like wouldn't react to it. And then I would throw this particular color tube in there, and it would almost instantly fire them up. And then you could go back in there with a drop shot, or in your case, a Ned rig. And after that fish was fired up, it's like they were ready to eat.
Yeah, I don't remember if I caught one on a Ned. Maybe one.
Yeah,
But I caught quite a few on that I forget what I think it was the Wisconsin fishing show. I was over in the Thorn Brothers booth, big musky shop in northern Minnesota. They were on the kind of fishing show tour here in the Midwest. They sell bass stuff and things like that, but they're well known for like all their musky equipment. And I was in their booth just looking for some terminal tackle in February, and I came across their the Z-Man Gobius, which is like a dark sleeper, but obviously out of the Z-Man plastic. And they had a particular color that I've used in like Ned rigs and things like that. And it's green pumpkin goby. And that Gobius is obviously imitating a goby. There's tons of gobies up there. So it was like you would throw a few things in there, get them fired up, or they wouldn't react to it. And then the second you drop that goby down there, it was like they choked it almost instantly.
Yep.
You know, it seemed like. I know there was one time you were getting down to flog, and it was like I felt it zing it, you know, before you could even get down there to see what it was doing.
Yeah.
And so that was quite interesting. But that whole flogging aspect, like, you know, you may have reeled the fish in, but I feel like we both reeled it in because it was team effort on some of those where it's like, go a little more left, go a little more right, you know, you're off the bed, get closer, you know, move this way, move that way. And then not only that, but to be able to sit there and watch the way that those fish would eat the baits was to me, it was educational.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You know what I mean?
The reaction to it. And then I think one thing that I was amazed at is how well we could communicate what needed to be done with the bait to make the fish hit it.
Like, hey, man, teamwork makes the dream work.
Boom. It does. It does. Because it was like, I don't even know what words we were using, but it was like we could communicate, and that's what each other exactly did, that exact thing. And I'm not sure if it's been a long time since I've been that jacked up to catch a fish and scream that loud on that first fish that we caught.
Dude, it was. I know there was a look on your face, like it was almost like you saw a ghost, but it was like pure excitement. You were like, dude, that was awesome. And we're high-fiving, hooting and hollering and stuff. But yeah, what a cool experience, man. It's yeah, that whole flogging thing, like, again, you know, it's kind of like the forward-facing sonar, is that, you know, you could work both sides of that argument. Is it cheating? Is it like hindering, like, you know, forward-facing sonar, this and that? I don't know, man. I think like it's not something that you're going to use all year long, right? It's more when those fish are clung to beds and you could see them react, because a lot of times they're just mouthing it and picking it up. I mean, how many short strikes do we have, you know, because they were just picking it up and moving it because they didn't want it on or near their bed. And there was quite a few times that happened, but like I said, that educational factor of like how they're eating it, how they're attacking certain baits and things like that, it was quite interesting to me.
Dude, I already have ideas on where I want to use a flogger. Like, just thinking about like boat docks.
Yeah.
Watching behaviors there. Like,
right.
The behavior aspect is so interesting to me. And like, what was great about that is we see how it would react to bait right off. Like,
right.
And like, you know, your guys' soft plastics at Dubro, catching, gosh, I think at one point, I think I counted 8 fish on one drop shot bait. And that's nose hooking it.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
That's so clutch in moments like that when you're like, you're just so jacked out of your mind that there's no way you can grab that lure. Like,
yeah, I mean, I brought enough plastics for an army of fishermen, and we didn't even make a dent in them. You know what I mean?
You couldn't even tell we took any out of the bag.
Yeah, right.
So, and we gave Bachowski 4 handfuls of them.
Yeah, and a couple other guys that were messing around with some of them too, and some of our pro team guys here at Dubro, you know, Nolan Marcus, Nathan Smith, you know, those guys. So it was interesting, man. But Yeah, it was weird because we got there, water temps were warmer than normal for that time of year by almost like 10 degrees. So there was some chatter before we even got up there, like, are they gonna be completely done spawning and off beds? And if so, like, how are we gonna approach this? And you and I had talked that out because we had a nice long car ride there.
Dude,
Uh,
I'm not even sure what we talked about. I don't. I'm still amazed. Like we just at one point I think we're just blabbing. I'm not even sure if we were talking to each other at one point. But
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was quite interesting. But it was funny because you and I were kind of comparing thoughts and we were kind of on the same page as to where we thought those fish would move. So they were on beds when we first got there, but I mean after day 2, they you could tell they were moving off
yeah,
for
quickly.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, because the air temps were getting warmer and the water was just warming up even more. Because I think when we initially got there, it was like 63 to 65 degrees in areas, and I mean, there was a few areas that we found by Monday when we left that were like 70 degrees, and it was like, "Holy smokes," like, there ain't gonna be any fish in here. I mean,
yeah,
granted, we would randomly stumble into 1 or 2 that were still, like, fry garden. I think most of the females were spawned out, things like that. So, um, but man, what the smallmouth there, dude, are just healthy, and I think it's because of that goby population, but, like, dude, they had some shoulders on them.
yeah. I don't even know what to equate them to because typically like I think about a lake fish or a lake smallmouth, and typically they're like they're a little bit lazier. They're sometimes skinnier, not as tall
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
overall.
Yeah.
Um, but dude,
These they were
these were like
short and fat.
yeah, these things were like like a river smallmouth and a lake smallmouth had a baby and then really pissed it off
Yeah,
like
right, right,
because they were crazy angry and like super tall fish, like
dude.
so tall that like they almost look like a sumo wrestler in the face. Like
Dude, there was that one 3.5 pounder that I caught, and it couldn't have been more than 15, 16 inches, but it was probably 15, 16 inches tall. It was stupid. I mean, it wasn't a football, it was a basketball. I
yeah,
mean, that thing was round.
you could hardly tell that it had a tail. Like the back of it never like went down. It was just like
Yeah,
big.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was crazy, man. But so day 1, we weigh in for like 22 pounds. We take 3rd out of the group. I think first place he had, what was it, 24, 25, something?
Yeah, I think it was just under 25.
And he had a big bass that weighed 6'6".
Yeah,
I mean, just a toad of a fish.
yeah,
I mean, unbelievable. And then there was another fish weighed in that day, or was that day 2? Greg's bass that was like it was 5'9".
yeah, yeah. I think
'Cause
that
I
was
got nosed out with a 5'8". Yeah.
I think that was day 2, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But day 2, we came in, um, I think 20, 21 pounds, something like that, and we took, was it 4th that day?
Yeah,
Yeah, because we had a 3rd, a 4th, and a 2nd place finish.
yeah, yep. That's right. Yep.
But, yeah, those guys caught them that day, and we thought we were in pretty good shape just from our standings the day before. But those guys found a couple more quality fish, I would say. And
Yeah, and at that point, I think both of us kind of knew that particular bite that we've been chasing was depleting quickly throughout the day. So
yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah,
I think we both had that gut feeling that we had to go do something
yeah.
different.
Yeah. Well, especially the next day, right? So, we knew that, well, in 2, that was Sunday, there was a boat tournament out of the same ramp that we went out of in Cape Vincent. So, we saw most of those guys, and you had all the weekend anglers just pounding
Oh yeah,
kind of the areas we were fishing,
yeah,
where we were fishing slightly different areas, and it seemed like we had we had dialed some things in that other people weren't too keened in on.
yeah.
Um, as far as depth ranges and things like that. Um, and then our final day, Monday, we decided to make a move and head further upriver. And that was a struggle, dude. I was worried for the first half of the day, and we only fished till 1 o'clock that afternoon before weigh-in, because the guys had some other things going on that evening. But I mean, we caught, was it 5 or 6 fish? No, it was 5, right? Because we caught our last one at like 12:25, I think it was, and we
Yeah.
caught our first one at 11:30, and we
Yeah.
had a half-hour boat ride or 25-minute boat ride back to the launch to get off the water at 1.
Yeah.
But that's where we kind of found something interesting. I mean, there was boulders the size of semi trucks, basically, in 16 foot of water that the tops of them almost came up to the surface of the water. And there was just fish chasing. I believe they were chasing around gobies or bait fish, things like that.
Yeah.
But you had caught that first one up shallow, like super shallow, like 2 foot of water, throwing a jerk bait. And then we kind of moseyed on over to these, huge rock outcroppings. And you had one follow on a jerk bait. So I picked up a jerk bait, and then it was game on.
Yeah. I got crazy there for a while, dude.
Yeah, I hooked into a 5/8 right off the bat, and that thing came jumping out of the water, and I was like nervous because
Yeah.
we all know how fish can come unglued from jerk
Oh,
baits.
yes, I
But
do. Yes.
yeah, but he had 2 trebles buried in him, and one was buried pretty deep into his mouth, so that was nice. But that was a toad of a fish. I'll be posting that up on my social medias here real soon, but um it's that's where I think I told you, I'm like, other than that day, I think I had maybe caught 2 fish on a jerkbait, because it's just not something I throw quite a bit, but I know I should throw more.
Yeah.
And I realized what I was doing so wrong. Like, I wasn't leaving any slack in my line when I was throwing it before. And then I saw you and what you were doing and how you were kind of twitching that bait along, leaving plenty of slack in the line. So it wasn't moving that bait when you were reeling up the slack after you're twitching.
Yeah, dude. I
Um,
was working the shit out of that bait. Like,
dude, yeah. Because I looked back and I'm like, holy crap, he's going to town, just
yeah.
swinging that rod. And when I started doing that, that's when I started to connect, and I was like, all right, game on. And
Yeah.
I think I caught 3, and then you caught the last one. The
On a
last
drop.
one was on a drop shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had one fish that kept swiping and missing at the bait at the end, and we stuck around probably a little longer than we should have because we had such a long boat ride back.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there was minimal chop. I mean, the wind wasn't too bad that day, and we were ripping through some channels between a bunch of islands, so it kind of kept the water flat calm, so we could kind of haul ass, back to the boat ramp. But yeah, man, it was interesting, and that's the thing too that amazed me is, like, you could literally see a fish like 30 yards from the boat swiping or following these baits as we were working them back in, which was pretty unique.
Yeah, and they were. It was awesome to watch because as soon as I saw their reaction to what I was doing, I know exactly what I needed to do, and that was, some people may say it's overworking the bait, but
Yeah,
dude, you had to pull it hard and you had to pull it fast, like,
yeah.
because if you paused it, which you would think if once you paused it, a trailing fish would eat it.
Yeah.
But in this circumstance, it was like they wanted that pause, but they wanted to go right back alive. It was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like I equated it to like a cat and mouse. Like he like a cat's gonna swipe and swipe at something that's live. Once he figures out it's dead, he might just leave it.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing, with the jerkbait, I noticed how heavy you were working it. And it's like typically you hear like twitch, twitch, pause, twitch, 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 pause. Like
Yeah,
you're doing 1 to 3 twitches and then pausing. And obviously in colder water, like, you know, early spring, you want those longer pauses because those fish are lethargic. But these fish just wanted to eat it. So it was like, there was times I probably twitched that bait 8 times,
yeah,
if not more, and as you were twitching it, in between the twitches is when they would strike, and it was like I would go to twitch it again, and thankfully, I was using a Douglas LRS, what is that? 7.6 moderate fast, rod, so it was a crankbait rod, so the rod was loading up before it was loading up on the fish. So I think that's what part of my saving grace was. Otherwise, I think I would have ripped the baits out of their mouths
yeah,
and plus fighting them. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
had I just been using like a medium heavy fast rod.
yeah.
Um, so I think that was a huge component to my success in catching those fish that day. But we ended up coming in with like 19 pounds, I think it was, and one of the fish, like I said, was 5 pounds 8 ounces. So we had that toad, and that definitely saved us. That got us second place, and then we had dinner with the boys, and then you and I went out for the evening fishing, and again killed it on the jerk bait again, up shallow,
Mhm.
and man, what a beautiful sunset that night.
Oh
It
yeah,
was phenomenal. It
it
was
was
like the
amazing.
sky was on fire. Yeah,
Yeah, water calmed down. Uh,
flat calm, flat calm.
Minimal people on the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome, and yeah, I'll add that we came in second, and that's with me losing 3 good sized fish.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
on
yeah,
my
yeah,
first date.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like,
Matt cost us the W. I'm glad he's admitting that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I took the ass whooping on that one. So, but yeah, no, it's yeah, that evening bite, like it was. I mean, it was the same thing. It was like those fish were just roaming, and you'd actually saw some roaming on day two. Yeah, day
That's right.
two.
Yeah. Day
Wow.
2, we went all the way out to Lake Ontario, which wasn't that far of a run. I mean, it was a couple miles, but we came up on an area where there was boulders the size of like compact cars, and we saw a few wolf packs cruising out there, but that's where we saw like 68 to 70-degree water temps.
Yeah,
And it was kind of interesting and shocking that the river was colder than Lake Ontario in areas.
yeah,
But and that was the thing too, is you would toss a jerk bait right away, didn't get any bites. Granted, we didn't give it enough time. I don't think that was partly on me because I was being impatient and we were kind of searching for fish. um but um yeah, it was an interesting dynamic, for sure. Just the whole layout altogether of that fishery.
yeah. I don't know how you feel about it, but me personally, like, love the St. Lawrence River, loved all the places we went, but man, my mind wanders when I start thinking about that lake a little bit more and more. And I know you mentioned you wanted to get out to some of the islands and things. We just couldn't make it out there because of fuel. But like
Yeah. Yeah.
out of the whole trip, like that's my like, oh, wonder what's out there. you
Yeah.
know?
Trust me, I thought about that the whole ride home.
Yeah,
'Cause there's some islands, quite a ways offshore, and at that point, we had run around quite a bit during the day, and we didn't fuel up the night before, I don't think,
no, we didn't.
and, that was our biggest issue. Had we done that, we could have definitely ran it, for sure, and the weather was calm enough, like, there was probably, like, 1 to 2s,
Yeah,
which with a deep V boat, not a big deal, but, yeah, it made me curious too because we saw a couple boats heading out that direction, and I know from some of the research I did before we left and, like, looking at satellite imagery and things like that, and then knowing that the middle of the lake is obviously gonna be a lot cooler than up around shore. Had me curious, like, are there fish out there that are just getting on to the spawning flats and things like that? Are they all spawned out there? Who knows? But it was quite interesting. So, I mean, next trip up there, it may be worth investigating for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's like where my wandering mind goes every time. It's like, what are the beasts out there, and what are they hungry for, and how big are they out there, and like
Yeah.
what's it look like out there? Because boy, that stuff we looked at for that little bit of time, like, dude, it was juicy.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. We're going to take a quick break, guys. Got a little ICAST promo rolling for you. The two of us and John Rapp, Dustin Nichols, Randy Newton are going to be down at ICAST doing some podcasts. So get ready. There you have it, guys. We'll be broadcasting live from the Dubro fishing booth. I know I already got a few guests lined up today. One I'm not going to spill the beans on yet, but let's just say he's no stranger to the kayak world and no stranger to kayak fishing podcasts. So he's been out of the game for a little bit, but chatted with him through Messenger today, and I'm looking forward to sitting down and chatting with him at ICAST 2024, plus being able to share with you guys some of the products that Matt and I have been working on with Dubro that are getting released down there as well. So I think you guys
pretty excited, dude, about
pretty stoked about that. Yeah.
I can't lie. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been keeping my lips sealed way too long. And
I
you know
know.
me, I like to talk.
I know. I'm like, I just want to tell everybody about it. It was the same way with the knobs. Like,
Yeah.
you work so hard on something. I do minimal work here and just tell you ideas and thoughts that I have on you folks at Dubro put in all the hard work, and then all of a sudden it's like there's a little baby, and like then you're like, what's everybody
the baby? Yeah, let's make the baby grow up. Let's add a mustache. Let's add a
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Mr. Potato Head, and it's like at the end, is Mr. Potato Head cute, or is it like something you can barely look at? So.
Right. Yeah, it'll be great, man. I'm super stoked. We got products going to be in the new product showcase, so be ready for ICAST 2024. I'm sure we'll somewhere along the lines in our travels, we'll do some podcasts before the show, maybe give you guys a sneak peek before the show even opens up. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that because you and I are going to be traveling together. We're rendezvousing with John Rapp, Jay Randall on the way down, and we're going to be shooting some content. I talked to our friend at Lakewood Products, and they got some cool new stuff that they're releasing at ICAST. So we'll be shooting some content with that. So yeah, it'll be. I didn't tell you that yet, but there you go, bud.
and you know how big a fan I am of their products, man. Like,
yeah.
Love their stuff. The swim bait deposit box,
the billfold the long billfolds, dude, such a game changer. Like, I remember when they came out with the billfold, and if you guys aren't familiar with it, it's a mesh bag to hold your plastics in. So it's a beauty. If it gets wet, it drains, obviously, dries, right away. And it's got some dividers in it. You could see through that mesh. So, it's like you can know right offhand which one you're grabbing. So you could have one with all worms in it, or this one has swim baits in it, this has craws in it, things like that. And they came out with a long version that's what, twice the size, something like
Yeah,
that.
it's at
And
least twice
dude,
the size.
I used it for the first time like on the water in my kayak down at Dale Hollow, or I might have used it before then, like on the home lake or something, but really seriously used it down on Dale Hollow. And it was money, dude, because I would have like craws, neds, drop shots, paddle tails, and shaky heads, like all in one thing,
Yeah,
instead of having like two or three.
yep.
Everybody knows I'm a plastics nut. I have way too many plastics. I need to start giving some of my stuff away because I've pretty much fully transitioned over into all Dubro plastics. Um, so if you're in need of plastics, hit me up because I got some for you. Like packages unopened of like rage craws and stuff. Um, I will be willing to give those away for very, very cheap. But yeah, man, those things are sweet. And what they did for this year is they already have it kind of posted on their website. They redesigned some some uh some of their existing products and kind of added some cool features to them. So I'm super stoked about that, and it'll definitely play into the kayak realm too, for some of your tackle storage solutions. So I'm excited about that. But
Dude, the billfold for me. So the last, I don't know, a few years, I've been still fishing out of a kayak primarily. 90% of the time, 95% of the time. But
yeah,
I like to go co-angle
yeah,
because dude, I love fishing. So like,
right.
my buzz calls me and is like, "Hey, want to jump in this derb?" I'm like, "Yeah." So like, I'll jump in with those. That's my co-angler bag.
Yeah.
I'll stuff crankbaits in there. I'll stuff jigs. I'll stuff my plastics, just
Mhm.
everything in that
Yep.
fold, and just carry
Yeah.
that thing. That's it.
Yeah, and I've been doing the same thing, jumping between the boat and the
Yep.
kayak. Like I'll throw it in the storage locker in the boat, and then it's like, oh, I'm going out in the kayak, so I'll just pull it out of that compartment, and it fits right underneath my new canoe seat. So it's money. It's like I have everything I need. And basically, I mean, I have three of them stuffed full of plastics, but I have one that's kind of got the whole variety, and then other ones that are more specific. Um, so I'll just grab, my variety one and throw it in the kayak. So I know I got pretty much everything, all my bases covered, so to speak. And it's just a grab and go tackle thing versus having like three or four of those to throw in the kayak and then trying to sift through them, while you're on the water can be a pain in the butt.
Yeah, yeah. If you're looking for great storage solutions, whether it be in your boat, your kayak, or in the garage, I
Yeah.
highly recommend Lakewood. It's such a great product and such a high quality product that you won't be sorry.
Well, you're a big swim bait guy. And I know you were tossing some glide baits when we were up there in New York. Didn't catch any on them, but I, we got to play with the smaller swim bait deposit box or whatever they call it,
Yep.
um, on the way to ICAST last year, and
Yeah.
you've been utilizing the crap out of that thing. It seems like.
Yeah, I mean it's great because it's a great size to fit in the kayak with me. But then I can also, have anybody that's looked at glide baits, they're not cheap, so you want to make
Yeah,
sure your investment is secure, and yeah, it keeps it secure. I mean, even in a boat,
yeah,
it's a minimal space, so
right,
just a great
right.
just a great way to store larger baits, swim baits, musky baits, even like whatever you need in there.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up with a little ICAST, but other than the new product releases through Dubro that we've been working on, like, what are you most excited for?
Man, I love ICAST in that everybody is there just working so hard and grinding so hard that it's good to be around like people that have that same thought
Right.
process as
Yeah.
you and trying to do similar things. And it's really inspiring, like to me, because you
Yeah.
see these guys like Dubro, for instance, like as much work as you guys put in it and things like that really says a lot and how important that show is and how important it is for the brand and then then also any new product development or anything like that. And it's great just to like see people that I've seen there. There are people that I only see there.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's like I talked with Walton Doyle today. Big member of Fletch's shop over there in Georgia.
yep,
Um, and I was like, "Hey, man, you got time for a podcast at ICAST?" He was like, "Yeah, absolutely." I'm like, "Dude, I can't wait to see you, man." I
yeah,
mean, we got to hang out with him at the line cutters party last year, and uh, may have had a few too many pops, but
yeah,
had a good time. And but it's like I only get to see him at that show, him and Dean
yeah.
Bowling. And it's like those are two like top notch guys, man. I love those guys to death. Just two salt of the earth guys. And obviously they're hooked up with Fletch and Mikey Monavon and all those guys of Westbrook Supply Co. So it's like, they're great dudes, but
Yeah.
being able to like kick back and, other than talking online and stuff like that, just being able to kick back and just have a casual conversation with those folks that we only get to see once a year, it's pretty cool. So
And one of my favorite times is when they roll out the beer the last few hours.
yeah,
And it's not because I want to get hammered, like
right.
it's because like
It turns into a big social hour.
it does
Yeah,
for
and
everybody.
that's
And
yeah,
it's the whole show. It's not
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
this portion or that
yeah.
portion. It's like
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have media folks and dealers and things like that still coming in and out of booths, but you have a lot of people that gather, and it could be your competitor, right? And you
mhm,
guys are just randomly running into each other, having conversations, catching up. Hey, how's your year going? What's your forecast for next year? What are you guys looking at? You guys got any new products? Oh, that's great, awesome. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's where a lot of innovation in the industry is inspired by, because everybody's coming together in one spot and going, this is what we created this year, and it's available for the world to see, and things are made off that, you know what I mean? And trends are set, for the upcoming year from what you see at ICAST the year before, so
yeah,
it's kind of interesting when you sit back and kick back and think about it in that aspect. um, but yeah, man, I'm with you 100%. I'm just looking forward to seeing all those folks we only get to see once, maybe twice a year, and just having conversations, obviously talking fishing and showing off products and seeing all the new products from all the different companies, right? I mean, that's what I enjoy the most, is just seeing all the new technology and innovations in the industry overall. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
And seeing guys like John Rapp, that's always a great time. Randy will be down there. See Randy.
Dustin's going to be there.
I've seen
And
Dustin one time. That was 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
yeah,
So yeah, looking forward to that. I've
yeah,
never.
that was his last ICAST.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I was there that year as well, and yeah, he's making the trip back out this year, so it's
That'd be a lot of fun.
super. Yeah, dude, he's salt of the earth, man. I mean, I think I've only seen Dustin in person 3 or 4 times, but it's like, dude, he's like my long lost brother, dude.
Yeah.
Like, him or I call each other, and it's like we hit it off like, we just saw each other yesterday. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yep.
So it's cool. I'm super stoked to hang with old doo doo.
Yeah. Yeah. That and yeah, it's just you see those folks. You get to hang out. You can actually spend some time with them. I know last year, ran into like Danny from Secret Lures.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I don't know if I've ever seen Danny in Indiana,
yeah.
and
But
we
I've
love,
seen him
love,
in
love
Florida.
yeah, see him in Florida almost every year. So
Well,
it's
that's like when I ran into him there, it was like I was up in the upper hallway going outside or something, and I hear, "Hey, Brian." And I turn around and I'm like, "Who the hell is that?" And then like they come walking over and I'm like, "Who is this guy?" And then he's like, and at this point I had done a podcast with him, And he's like, "Hey man, Danny with Secret Lures." And I was like, "Oh crap, dude. Like I didn't even recognize you. I'm used to seeing you on a freaking computer screen. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?" And so that's always interesting too, from our perspective as podcasting folks, is like I've talked to so many people like we're talking right now, but like you see them in real life and you're like, who is that guy? You know what I mean? Or gal or whoever it may be. And it's like, oh crap, I know you.
Yeah, it's
know?
like I've never met Jay Randall in person.
That's right.
So, like,
You finally get to be graced with the presence of the Randall on the way to ICAST.
on the way to the road to ICAST is going to be tremendous, man. So,
I love it. I love it. It's
not
gonna be
looking
great,
forward to
man.
the drive, that's for sure. But like,
Come on.
sometimes you gotta go through.
You gotta man up, bro.
Dude,
You're
I don't know
such a
what it is.
dude. We left New York and it was like 10 and a half hours to your place or to your brother's place where I had met you in Indiana. Because it was a little further north. And it was like we were a half hour in. You're like, "Are we there yet?" I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me, dude?"
Yeah,
And then it was like every hour from there now.
those long drives get to me anymore. I don't know
Come
why.
on. Come on. You're in the presence of greatness.
Something. Let me tell you. I can't even speak the words that you spoke as you were having road rage out there. Like,
Hey, I was trying to get you home in an efficient amount of time.
and you did. You did.
Yeah. See, those words made those people move over lanes.
Something.
I
And
was like Moses parting the Red Sea for you, bro.
you were, yes. But no, the trip was a lot of fun. Looking forward to the next trip. And man,
Yeah.
it's I'm looking forward to what adventures we find that on the way down to ICAST and at ICAST. And
Yeah.
man, last year, I was amazed at how many people and the quality of people and the content that Paddle and Fin was able to bring
Yeah.
on the ICAST floor. Like
Yeah.
that floors me.
Yeah.
Like I'd look over and all of a sudden, John Rapp's talking to some guy from Bates Reels, and then all of a sudden it's like it just like snowballed, and it was just like
Yeah.
full all the time. You'd look over
Yeah.
there, there'd just be random people over there.
Yeah.
There'd be pros over there. There'd be it was amazing to see, and then also being able to talk about the product right after you put the product in your hand.
Right.
Talking about it on a podcast is just tremendous.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I agree. Yeah, huge shout out to Dubro for allowing us to broadcast out of the booth. I mean, they pay a lot of money for that booth space and they give us a little bit of space to sit down and podcast out of and things like that. So yeah, huge shout out to them and thank you to them. It's definitely awesome that they allow us to do that. So
Yeah,
but great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be a great time. But yeah, just wanted to get back on the podcast grind leading up to ICAST. I had the Derby the one weekend, the following weekend, you and I headed to New York. So had to get one going in here, and what a great trip we had, and figured why not share it. And
yeah, man, it was a pleasure sharing time with you on the water there. And yeah, man, thanks for the invite for that New York trip. That was awesome. It was great.
Yeah.
And man, like I said, for two kayakers, we did pretty damn good in the boat.
Yeah. We worked well together. That's for sure. Whether it was you hooking up or me hooking up with a fish, we were right there with the net ready to roll and sacked up. And I mean, hell, we're still beating one team up there and we haven't been there for a couple of days.
Yeah, they're in trouble.
Yeah. I still say we would have won the whole thing had we been up there the whole week, but we won't go there.
Yeah, we had it.
Yeah. Them boys were in for hurting.
That's for sure.
So, but thanks everybody for tuning in. This is a little longer than what we usually do here at the Friday Night Bites, but it was worth having the extended conversation, talking about all kinds of good stuff here. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, whether it's on the podcast platforms, Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff. Look forward to the next show. Not 100% sure on the topic yet. I got a few different ideas, but be ready. We're here every Friday night, and obviously you can catch it on all the platforms after the fact. Matt, thank you again for taking time out tonight to just chat and catch everybody up on the adventure, man.
Anytime, man. My pleasure.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one. As always, tight lines, smooth paddling. Peace.